Now, this is the big slide, and it looks very complex at first glance, and I'm going to take several moments to dissect this to make it more understanding and more manageable and kind of explain what each part is for. Now, the first thing I want to say is last spring's virtual instruction, I would call that emergency instruction, right? Literally, we stopped on a dime, had to pivot, and with an infrastructure that was not prepared, go to this virtual platform. And it was not perfect. The decision was made for it to be optional. There was no new learning. Kids could only improve grades, so grades really didn't count unless they were trying to improve their grades. And as you can imagine, at the high school level, many kids checked out on us. And I'm sure a lot of your kids slept till 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and mine did some days as well. I'm happy to admit that I have my own struggles as a parent as well. And so the difference this year is this is way more structured. It counts this year, right? So grades count, material is new, kids are expected, and it's mandatory to be there. Attendance is taken. So those are all very different. Now, admittedly, we have to get that message across to kids. I was talking with the faculty last week, and I was saying kids have not been in school for 5.5 months. We're going to have to teach them how to be in school again, even if it's virtual. And so, and getting across the message to students that it's for real now, right? I know maybe it was sort of for real in the spring, but it's for real now. And we got to get that message across to them. The other thing that's different, if you remember at that time, buildings were shut down. And so teachers literally left here on March 13th, and some didn't have resources, some didn't bring their books, some didn't bring papers to grade, and we weren't allowed to let people in the building at all. And so teachers were without any of those resources. Well, this year, teachers can, and many have been in and out of the building to get resources, materials, books. And in fact, I don't know what percentage, but a number of our teachers, especially science teachers, are choosing, they're going to teach virtually from their classroom. And so they can do science lessons right there in the science lab, performing arts teachers. So that's a personal choice for them, but many of them are doing that. And so all those things are going to make this fall better. Another opportunity. Okay, so let's look at this return to new learning schedule. The first thing I want you to notice is on the left-hand side, it's an 8:30 start time. That's been advertised pretty well, but just want to double check. While we're in our all virtual world, the high school day goes from 8:30 to about 3:30 for the teachers, but really till about 2:45 for students. I'm trying to move my cursor a little slower because I was told there's a little delay on that. So I'm trying to move that a little slower. And so you can see these times over here, but just notice the different times. If we come back to an in-person schedule, right now the plan is to go back to the original 7:30 to 2:10 time. Of course, things are changing every day in this world, and so we'll keep you updated on that. But let's focus on this first 9 weeks, this first grading period. So I'm going to skip Monday. I'm going to come back to Monday and explain that. Let's start with Tuesday through Friday. First of all, Tuesday and Thursday, you'll notice, are exactly the same. And Wednesday and Friday are exactly the same. So I'm going to explain Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you'll know Thursday and Friday because they're the exacts, they're just copies. So we have 7 periods, and what we did for simplicity, now when I say we, every high school in Prince William County is following basically the same exact schedule. And we're doing that for simplicity purposes and to make sure it's a clear message to parents so there's no confusion. So every high school is doing basically the same exact schedule. So we've taken the even classes, 2, 4, 6, and those even classes will be on Tuesday and Thursday, no matter what, from now until the end of the first quarter. That's different than our standard schedule, I know some of you are thinking. But again, we're dealing just with this first quarter virtual world. Tuesday and Thursday are even classes. Every Tuesday and Thursday from starting Tuesday to October 30th, every Tuesday and Thursday will be periods 2, 4, 6. And the same is true for Wednesday and Friday. Those will always be periods 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now, I'm going to come back to this part right here in just a second. I'm going to use two different terms. And I shouldn't have said this. Let's go back up to this term. I apologize. There's a term here, asynchronous, and the other term is the same word without the A, synchronous. Same, two different words, just one letter difference, asynchronous and synchronous. So when we're talking about that, when you hear synchronous, that is students and teachers are interacting in real time. A specific place, a virtual place, of course, a specific time. There's live interaction happening. That's synchronous live learning, live lessons. Asynchronous is more self-paced online learning. So this might be an example of asynchronous might be, I say as a teacher, hey, for homework, I want you to read this article, and we have a virtual discussion board. And before we meet again next class period, I want you to respond and give me a paragraph explanation of your response to that article. That would be an asynchronous assignment in an online learning environment. There are many platforms up until everyone went virtual where online learning was all asynchronous. And so these are kind of self-guided modules. Kids work at their own pace. This could be looking at a pre-recorded lesson. This could be discussion boards, as I explained. So that would be asynchronous. So if we look at these each periods on Tuesday, period 2, period 4, period 6, each period is 70 minutes long. The teacher at minimum will give 30 minutes of live virtual instruction or synchronous learning. Now, that's minimum. Many teachers are going to go beyond 30 minutes. The other part to remember is live virtual instruction doesn't always mean direct lecture, right? Lecture, which is mostly how I went to school, can be deadly to kids, bores them, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual. If you do 70 minutes of lecture, the students, their eyes will be rolling back in their head and they'll be drooling and they'll falling asleep, whether they're virtual or in person. And so when teachers are doing those 30 minutes of live virtual instruction, some of that will be direct instruction or lecture. Some of it may be presentation. Some of it will be interaction. Some of it will be demonstration of labs, but there'll be live direct instruction. That's minimum 30 minutes. For whatever is not direct live instruction for the remainder of that class period, so let's just use the minimum. There's 40 minutes left in that period. What will kids be doing? The teacher will be available to have for the student live during that period. So that could be, I give you an assignment to go work on. I give you problems in math to go work on. Come back and let me know how you're doing. But I'm available for questions, for support, for any of those things where kids need feedback. But it could also be the thing where a teacher gets on, does a live lesson, sends the students off to do something independently, and then says, okay, we're going to meet back at 11:10 to just close up and review for the day. So there's a lot of different models that could work in that method, but that's what it looks like. The reality is, if we made kids sit in front of a computer on Wednesday and Friday for 70 minutes without a break, that's the novelty of that is going to wear off super quickly, and we don't want them staring at their screen for that long anyways. So that is how the classes will go. Now, if you look at the blocks on Tuesday and Thursday, obviously there's one less class, so there's a bunch of extra time here on Tuesday and Thursday. This time period is really focused on all these things listed, but really a lot of this is for retake opportunities and relearning. Those of you that are veteran Colgan parents know that we believe strongly in the relearning and retake process. Quick summary. You go to take your driver's ed test. My oldest son, who just graduated from UVA and has a pretty good job right now, I'm pretty proud of him, failed his driving test the first time he went. And he had to wait, I forget, you have to wait a certain amount of time. And then we went back and he passed it. Well, he still has full driving privileges today, even though he failed that driving test the first time he took it. And so we believe the same thing in our learning process, that on our major assignments, that if a kid totally bombs or doesn't do well, that student can work with the teacher to relearn the material, do something that the teacher wants them to do, some sort of relearning plan to get the opportunity to retake that assessment. Doesn't mean that'll be the exact assessment, could be a different assessment that measures the same objective. And so these blocks of time, large blocks of time on Tuesdays and Thursdays, really give the students tons of opportunity to make sure they have plenty of support doing that. Now, I'm going to be real with you. The first day of school, Tuesday, September 8th, they're not going to be relearning or retaking anything because they haven't done anything yet. So yes, admittedly, there's not much going to be happening here on this very first day. So my friendly parent suggestion, I'm a parent myself, you can take, as my father used to say when he would give me advice, he would say, Tim, you can let this go in one ear and out the other. But my little advice for Tuesday morning, September 8th, great time to take some fun back to school pictures. Even though it's not in person back to school, it is back to school. Take those pictures, make the most of it. This hopefully one day soon will be a funny, some sort of funny memory we look back on and you want to get a picture of it, memorializing, unfortunately, their first day in the virtual world here. So that's a good time to do that. Okay, so the last thing is I want to talk about Monday. Monday is a complete virtual day. Teachers will have office hours. This is the day kids will be doing asynchronous learning. This is the day kids might review the recorded lessons. The teacher's live lessons will be recorded, so students can review those lessons at a later time, or if they miss the live lesson, they could watch it. They can have office hours with their teachers, as well as office hours with our counselors, librarians, other support staff. This will all be happening on this day. So it's a catch-all day, but again, it's a day that that kids will expect it to be working and have assignments for their classes to be completed. Now, obviously, how you manage this day with your child is your business. You know, if a student works better at night and is doing all their asynchronous work in the evening, you know, you figure out the best schedule for you at home. But our teachers will be available. They will be working with kids. Another opportunity for kids to do retaking and relearning and all of that.